Okay, I just got a message about some people being removed for technical problems. I'm not sure what that meant, but it popped up and went away. So hopefully those people who I might have lost will come back. But once again, at this time, you could record this meeting. You will be able to rewatch it, but you will not be able to download the video or share the video. I, as the host, can record it, and I can download and share it. And that's one of the premium features that we have right now during this time. We will lose it once this time is over. Google has opened that up to us. As far as should we record students, that's a whole nother issue. But I want you to know, at least for our meetings with staff, we can do it. So that being said, please make sure your mics are muted. And Alina, if you would, please mute your mic. And I'm currently using GridView. GridView is an add-on that Kevin's been doing a lot of research about certain things that we can add to our services, including Meet. So if you look in the upper right, some of you will see a grid. And that allows you to see all the participants in a large grid. Not all of you will see it. Some of you may see the grid in the upper right and it's crossed out and you may not be able to use it. But if you can use it, go ahead and click on it and you can say include yourself in the grid and you can see all the current participants. And that's something you could potentially do with your students if you wanted to as well. I'm going to go ahead and turn off grid view for the moment for myself. Okay, and then in the upper left, some of you may see the new emojis. You'll see a thumbs up. If you click on that, you'll see some things you can do. I'm going to click a thumbs up, and some of you may see it. Through research, it looks like right now that these things may need to be updated on some browsers, so you may or may not see it. Donna just raised her hand. I see that. So that is a feature. Feel free to use. Kevin did it. I see Eric, so it's working for many people right now. And then you just see the emojis on the other side. So these are things you can consider using with your students. Okay, that being said, I think I've resolved an issue with things showing up on my screen. And let me just say hello to everybody. This session is for those who are new to Google Classroom. Either you've not used it at all or you've used it a little bit and you're hoping to improve your skills with it. This is a great time to learn more about it as we go remote. And I really want you to look at this as not just a skill for now, but a skill that you can translate as we move forward. So I want to go ahead and start with a presentation. Okay. And I want to share. Run away. 1 minute. Oh, there it is. Okay. 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 Can you see this? Kevin, can you tell me, is it full screen for you?
Oh, yeah, it looks good.
Good. Okay. Great. Okay. So I want to first talk about some of the potential of Google Classroom before we actually dig into creating the classroom. So I entitled this Distance Learning Now, but Online Tool Later. So I really want you to look at this opportunity to learn about a tool that you can use in the future. Why are you here? You've been hearing about Classroom for a few years now, and you want to jump on the bandwagon or use it more. So that's why we're here today. Google Classroom is known as a learning management system. It's a way to conduct a class online, the way to share files, to create assignments, to grade on down the line. Many of you may still be grading essays and reporting them back and forth between school and home. This is a solution to that. Everything occurs online. You step up to any device, be it at home, at school, and all the assignments and all your work is there. Then you have the question from students about homework. But I didn't know about the homework. I missed that day, or I didn't hear that. Now they always have a place to go. They don't have an excuse for where to find their homework. Grading essays. One of the things that I hated doing was especially writing the same thing over and over again. There's a wonderful shortcut provided by Google that allows you to make comments and notations and not have to stress out your hand and get carpal tunnel syndrome.
Randy, sorry to interrupt. Somebody pushed your screen off, so you stopped presenting. And okay. Teachers, if you cannot see his presentation, your view probably needs to change. If you go down to the bottom right where there's 3 dots, there's a button that says Change Layout. And if you have it on auto, it should do it automatically. But that's where you would change your layout. They were just seeing you. They weren't seeing your presentation.
Very good. Okay, let me do it again then. Thank you, Kevin. Okay. Okay, so let me ask thumbs up if you see the presentation now. And Kevin, tell me what you see. Okay, people are doing thumbs up, so it looks good. Okay. Okay. And then there's reading poor handwriting. And that's something that we become very talented at, yet do you really get paid enough to do that? So if kids are typing everything or typing more of their work, that makes it easier for you. And the teacher sick day. You know that it's often a lot easier for you to come into work and teach sick than it is to try to create a lesson plan and deliver it somehow. So this is another solution. Once again, this right now is a perfect solution for us as we all stay home. Okay, so I want to go through these quickly so you understand a rationale for Google Classroom. You don't need to take papers home to grade. You can type comments on work instead of writing them. You don't need to use class time returning papers. Don't need to read messy handwriting. You can view students' progress on an assignment before they turn it in. So actually, as they're working on it, you can actually see what they're doing. You can track student collaboration on an assignment. If they're working on it, you can find out who's doing what parts of the assignment. Efficient classroom communication between the teacher and the student, or student to student. You can establish a due date and a due time for assignments, and that may become more important for you right now, wanting to say something's due at a particular time on a certain day. You can schedule an assignment for a future release date. You can grade assignments in Google Classroom and push it to Aries Gradebook. So we'll be talking about that, how you can do grading one place and the grade gets to the gradebook. You can post copyrighted files behind a password wall. This is very important. I know that everyone has a web page, a teacher web page, but here you're able to put up copyrighted materials, be it pages from a workbook, be it copyrighted music, whatever, and it's legal to do because only your students have access to it. Can easily copy good examples of good student work and for others to see. Guardians can receive emailed summaries of assignments and missed work. I'll say this right now with Guardians. Guardians, I sometimes get requests, and you probably do too. If you have a Google Classroom, the parent will say, well, I need to log in too. I need to see what their assignments are. There is no separate login for parents. They can get a summary. Otherwise, they need to get their students login if they actually want to log into the classroom. Students can't lose assignments. They're all in one place, and teachers can share a Google Classroom. So you either co-teach something, or right now in this new environment, you want to get an idea what another teacher's doing, they can actually make you a co-teacher in their classroom so you can see what they're doing. Okay, now, using Google Classroom during this shutdown. Why do it? One is students are familiar with the format. Many teachers in our district use Google Classroom, so guaranteed your student is using it at least in one class, but probably in other classes. All students already have an account and no passwords. You don't have to work in some other system where you have to worry about them creating accounts. Google Classroom is a hub for sharing files, creating, posting assignments, grading, and communication. Since other teachers use it, other teachers can supply support. You can share your classroom resources with other teachers very easily, and you can learn it now and use it in the future. Let me show this quick video here. Okay. Go back to the presentation here. Okay, I'm going to skip a bit and click to here, and I'm also going to look at questions right now, see if there's anything I can answer right now. What is the invite guardians? You can answer later on, not emergency. Yes, so I will be talking about when you do invite the guardians, they get the summary of assignments that were posted and what has been missed. Connie Chen says, even if you want to invite a guardian by using their email address, they will not be able to access it because they have to have a district drive, a district account. That's true. I wonder if they could open that up for Connie. When you say open it up, it's only available to the students and teachers. There is nothing for parents because they need a district Google account. And then Connie says, I'm not sure if it would be possible. It's a question more for higher ups. Okay, very good. So feel free to ask questions. And I see some people in the chat room may answer the questions, or at the same time, I'll come back once in a while. So what I want to show you now is some views within Google and some items in Google, primarily so you have an idea of the scope of the program, and also so you can ask questions that are key to you, things that you really want to know how to do. So when someone goes into Google Classroom, be it the teacher or the student, they're going to see their classes listed as squares. And preferably the squares look somewhat different, be a different color, whatever, so you can easily identify them. You can be both a student in some classes and a teacher in other classes, and they'll all show up here. You'll have your roster in the classroom, and of course you need your roster. And we'll talk about a few different ways you can add your roster within Google Classroom. You'll be able to create assignments with a due date, time. You can assign assignments to particular students and not all your students if you don't want. And you can attach all kinds of things, be it a file such as a PDF or a Word document, an item from your Google Drive, a YouTube video, or a link to another website. You create video assignments. You create a link to a YouTube video and then have them discuss. You can have them write about it. Very easy to do. You can create announcements. So every day you go in, you can make an announcement. It can be just an announcement from yourself. You can have them be able to respond to a question you might ask. You also know what's pending. You know how many kids have not turned it in, how many have. You can find out what their names are. And once again, as I said, you can actually check on their progress if they're working on a Google Doc or other Google product. From the student view, they may see a post from you. And this says students can send announcements. So one thing I will talk about is in the default settings, students can send an announcement to everybody, and that's probably something you want to turn off. But some teachers say they actually find it handy for students to be able to post to everyone. Example of a student views an assignment. So here's an assignment. They would click on it and they would watch the video, and it says, please watch the attached video prior to our lab work this week. Here's a teacher announcement with the ability of the student to make a comment underneath. Here's an example. When they see the assignment, there will be a pending date, and so they'll know when things are due. And if they have multiple classes, this is one of the views they have, so they can see all their assignments in one place, even if they have multiple classes. And all the attachments that you put in Google Classroom, be it a PDF, a Word file, all those are saved in one folder in your Google Drive. That will have a new folder in your My Drive called Classroom. And as you see in the list there, it shows different names of the different classrooms that were created. So everything is saved there, and you can actually, in future years or any other time, go back in and pull that same assignment. So getting support, I will be posting and sending out a link to this whole presentation. But also, Google has a classroom support page for just Classroom. YouTube is an invaluable resource to learn how to do anything on a Google product. Tech coaches, we are available. And your colleagues, like I said, many of them do use Google Classroom. So it'd be great if you do refer to them as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show this video first, just so you get an idea of one way to create a Google Classroom. This is the suggested way to create your classroom because this will bring your student roster in with it. So it's only, I think, 2 minutes. Let me go and present it. Okay, so let me find out, are people hearing the audio of the video? Can you tell me in the chat room, are you hearing the audio of the video? No, okay, well, I have now learned something. Thank you, Mr. Aguilar, for letting me know about that. So let me recap what was in that video. So you saw what happened. What the person had done was they went to their dashboard for Aries. In that dashboard, there's a section called Class Summary, and that was this section right here. Over to the right, you will see the connect to website, and so, or link to website. You'll click on that, and you will go ahead and create a Google Classroom. I'm sorry about the audio not being there, but the advantage of this is that it creates the Google Classroom for you. It fills your roster for you, and as students come in and leave Aries, your roster is updated in Google Classroom. So that is the suggested way that you create your Google Classroom. I will show you another way though. So I'm going to go ahead and stop presenting that screen, and I'm going to go ahead and look at questions very quickly. Let's see. How do students receive announcements? Make sure that's as high as I can go there. So they receive announcements by they log into Google Classroom. That's one way they do it, and there will be a wall that I'm about to show you that has like Facebook that has all the announcements. But also they will get an email in their student Gmail account as well. So that's how they get the announcements. How do you allow students to respond to a post? I'm going to show you a setting that permits all students to respond to a post, and you can turn that on or turn that off. You also have the ability to mute a particular student if that student becomes problematic. Jerry Burnside says, are they notified when you post an announcement? Yes, they are, through email and the wall. I'll show you. Connie, you posted, oh, okay, and there's Connie answering the questions. Very good. And they see, Charlotte saying they can see announcements if they are accepting notifications. Okay, so let's go a little further in now. I'm going to go ahead and share my classroom. Okay, get to the right window here. Okay, and it fills the screen. So I'm inside Google Classroom, but how the heck did I get here? There are several different ways to get to Google Classroom. In some ways, the easiest way is to go to a browser when you have any Google product and type the first name of that product. So often I will find myself going to the browser window and just typing Classroom, which I know you can't see the top there, but as I type Classroom, Google does a search and says, oh, you must mean our classroom. The first one talks about the product, and it does take you, you do have a button, you can go there. The second link takes you right to your Google Classroom. And so that's one of the easiest ways to do it. Also, you always, if you use Chrome, you have a button. Let's see, you can't see it good. Okay, in the upper left, you have an apps button, and that apps button will take you to a screen of apps. And depending if how you set it up, you may have a Google button on there, but it can be added. Also, for Dineboro High School people, I do have a link on our staff homepage as well as our school webpage. Kevin, can you talk about ways that your people can connect to it?
Yeah, I just tell them to, most of them have it saved somewhere in their bookmarks to get to their class easy.
Okay. And you also often will have this Rubik's Cube that I'm clicking on right now. And there you'll find several of the icons, including Classroom, you have there as well. So there's several ways to get there. Like I said, if you're just hopping on any computer, type Classroom in the browser, in the URL line, and you'll be able to get right there. This is the dashboard for Google Classroom. This is the place you'll find yourself coming back to often. As I look at mine, I see that two look a little different from the last one. You see Kevin's wonderful picture right here. In the first two, I am a teacher. My picture is not there, but if I am a student, as I was in Kevin's class, his picture is over here, and he manages that class, and so you can choose to add your picture or some other nice icon so your students can easily find your class. I have 3 listed here. Let's go ahead and I see I have 1 student, 5 students here, and there's Kevin's class. I see some assignments that are due very soon being listed here. Just kind of a quick summary. I have the ability to go right to Gradebook in my class, as well as go to the Google Drive folder that contains the attachments of all the things I've attached. Over here, I'm going to the upper left, I'm clicking on the hamburger, the 3 bars. This is the easiest way, where no matter where you're at, to get back to your class dashboard, okay? So this one is classes. You also have a calendar. This is a combined calendar of all of your classes. You saw that I was a member in 3 classes, 2 as a student and 1 as a teacher. This shows me anything that I have to do this week. There is only a week view for this calendar, but students have this as well. But it gives you an idea of the scope amongst all your classes. You have teaching to do. This gives you an idea of the assignments that you've posted, what you need, what's been turned in, what's assigned. It's a great summary across the board of what you have across all your classes. Then I can look at each individual classroom separately that I'm teaching and those that I'm enrolled in. And then there's archive classes, which I'll talk about that in just one moment. And then I'm going to click on settings here. You'll get Google Classroom has lots of notifications. They do depend on Gmail. And so things that get sent to your Gmail, get forwarded onto your district email. And so you need to decide if you want to receive all that, or if you want to just go to Google Classroom to find out what's going on. That's a choice you need to make, and you can turn that on and off. You can get notifications if there are comments on your posts, comments that you mentioned, private, okay, on down the line, for classes that you're in, classes that you teach. So let me ask Kevin. Kevin, do you keep all your notifications on to go to your Gmail?
Yeah, for the most part, I just kept it all the same. It can become overwhelming for certain things. So I have turned them off. If you start getting flooded with them, and just know that you have to just go check your Google Classroom every day. It really varies on the teacher.
Okay, and so once again, access all that through the bar and the menu, and this menu is most important for getting back to your dashboard by going to your classes. Looking at the classes, there are 3 dots here. Used to be, when you made a classroom, you had to create them in a certain order for them to sort in a certain order. Then they added the ability to move the class, and then now you can actually just drag it wherever you want it. So you can organize however you'd like. You can edit the class at any time, and we'll do that in a moment. If you have a class that has a lot of what you want for another class, you can make a copy of it, and it'll make a duplicate. And finally, there's the ability to archive a class. I have taught several classes and been in several classes, and so if you've taught a class, you can actually archive it. What archiving does, it gets it out of your view and actually makes it inactive for students as well. Why archive it? Because you could go back and get assignments that you posted, or comments, or anything else, and you can retrieve that at any time. So there's great value if you create a classroom to archive it. In fact, that's really only the option. If you want it out of your view, you got to archive it. There is no delete. Okay. So let's go ahead and talk about how students join. Your students, if you created it using Aries, which I just showed you how to do, they will automatically be enrolled. And when they log into Classroom, they'll come in and they'll see a join in the upper corner. They'll click on join and they will be part of that classroom. And as I said, many of them are already part of other classrooms already. They can also, anyone can go ahead and click join class. And then if you supply them with a class code, and I'll show you where that class code comes from, they put the code in and they join the class. You can do that with your students. Once again, if you join in the Aries, you don't need to do that, but that is where you or someone else can add a join code and join a particular class. You can also create a class here. That is still an option for you now. You can create a class starting here and later link it back to Aries if you like. The one thing I'm not sure about is if the rosters stay up to date if you do that. The nice thing with the other way is that if a kid leaves your class in Aries, they leave your grade classroom here. Okay, so let's go into a classroom. Actually, let me go ahead and say create class. So if I say create class, it just asks me, give me a name for the class, and I can delineate other things as a section, subject, and room. You may decide you don't want a classroom for each period. You may instead want a classroom for every subject and put every kid throughout all your periods in that. And that way everyone's together, and that may be the world that we live in right now. without a need to bring them back. The only thought is, if you give them grades, you want those grades to go back to Aries, and you probably want them separated into periods. So you want to keep that in mind, but you could create a biology classroom and have all the kids in it. At the same time, if you have a period 1, a period 2, and period 3, you can easily make an assignment in one and copy it to the other ones. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop and see, look at the questions for a moment. Okay, so you can't delete a class. You might, so no, you can't delete a class, but there's no need, Stacy, to delete a class, because once it's archived, it's out of the view of the students. They can't get in, but you can always have access again. Okay, Stacy, yeah, and in general, as Kevin said, Google doesn't delete anything. To them, they can store everything forever, and so they tend to keep that option, because people also throw away things and then later want to retrieve them. Okay, so going into our Google Classroom, and one that exists, I want to look at the format. The first thing I notice is I have this banner at top. The banner is nice to differentiate between your periods, so that one, it's easy for you to find which one it is, but also it makes it easy for your student when they look at their collection of classes that they're in, for them to look different. As you see, I was able to personalize this one, and this is something I can go over later. But typically what you can do is you just click select theme, and they have lots of wonderful images that you can put at the top. You can also upload a photo, but the photo dimensions are somewhat restrictive. You see how long the banner is. Now, one thing that I realized as I was putting this training together is there's a lot to Google Classroom, so I'm probably going to have a part 2 to this training. So I will progress as far as I can for the hour, keeping everyone's time in mind, and then we'll schedule another time. I also will be recording each session, so feel free to, if you need to, not join us, but to watch later. If you notice over to the left, I have upcoming. Students have this as well. They have an idea of what's in the near future that they need to really look at in the near future. I did forget to mention this. Here you have the class code. I talked about being able to click on that plus on the dashboard, this plus right here, and adding a join code. That join code is listed at the top of each class here. So you could give that to any student and they can pop it in and they'll join to your class. And if you're in the classroom, this, as you notice, this is quite small. This is the ability to display it larger, so that you can display this on your projector in the classroom, and students can just join in anytime they want. Okay, as we scroll down, right now, this is what is called, we're on the Stream tab. We have a Classwork tab, a People tab, and a Grades tab. On the Stream tab, think of it like Facebook. Everything you do is here, be it an announcement, be it an assignment, be it a question. Everything shows up here, so that if someone wanted to, they could just scroll down and get a sense of the scope of what's coming up. You can, on this wall, you notice you have this first field up here. If I click on it, I can share something with my class, like I can just say, hope you're doing well. I can say, please read this. If I say, please read this, I can then attach a link to a website. I can put a PDF on it, something from Google Drive or a video. This is for just general announcements, but I can add something for them to do and just all do. It's not an assignment though. I can put it to the class that I'm currently in, or I can check off every other class I'm in and assign at the same time to every other classroom. I also am able to choose which students receive it. Initially, by default, all students are checked off. I can uncheck that and then check those students I wish to see it. No one else will see it. And tell me a story. And I click on that. And then let's see, I need to assign it to at least one student. I default, I can post, but I can also schedule an announcement to appear at a certain time. If I click on schedule, I can choose the day. I can choose the time that this will pop up on the wall. Okay. So this, once again, is on the main wall on the Stream tab that shows everything you can post as announcements. You can also notice these two arrows here. I can reuse. I can go into this class. I can go into other classes that I've been. I can even notice these say archive classes. I can go into these and pull an announcement or pull some other material from them. So reuse is a very powerful tool they've added. And once you come to use Google Classroom, you'll find Google continues to add things. They sometimes move things around. They are Google. but they've listened to teachers and they keep adding things that are very valuable. Okay, other things that I have currently on here, I have an assignment that's listed on here. I have a question that I posted. I asked the kids, was the homework difficult? But if you each have a general question that you want them to respond to, they can respond to that question. And actually, I'll get back to that in a moment. But that's the stream page. Any questions about the stream page? Okay. Can you show how to link a created class to Aries? Okay, I talked about it at the beginning, Neil, but yeah, so linking a created class, when you go ahead and you go back to Aries, the video, actually, I'm going to include the video that I had at the beginning, and that shows you how to do it. You start in Aries, and you will link from there. Bill Foley says, I have had students from last year asked to get their photos from last year. Okay, so Bill, I assume you're saying you want to be able to retrieve what students have turned in. What students have turned in, if you turn it back to them, they're the owners of it. And I am somewhat concerned you may not be able to retrieve those if it was something that they turned in an assignment and then you returned back to them. So that's something we'll have to investigate. Okay, I'm moving over to the classwork tab. So on the classwork tab is where your assignments are going to be. And right now I have what we would call topics. I have homework, questions, test, Unit 8. So I needed to go back a little bit in history and what this was before. Google at one time said, go ahead and post assignments and everything, and they would list chronologically on when you created it. And there was no real good way to sort them or find them. They still have not added a search, but they have added a way to label things. And so I label some things as a resource, some as homework, some as questions. On the other hand, you may want to list things by unit. You may want to label things saying, okay, everything, quizzes, tests, assignments that are in Unit 8. You cannot apply two labels to one item, but you can apply one label. So you'll need to figure out your system by which you might want to sort them. Resources is something that I recently learned about, is create a topic that's resources, where things that you want kids to go back to, often be it a set of notes or graphics or things, you can label an item resources. Okay, that being said, let's see what type of things you can actually create. You have a big create button up here. Here is where you can create your assignment, create a quiz, post a question that they can respond to, post your general materials that you want them to have access to, reuse a post and post it back here again from some other class or the same class. And there's also where you make the topics. The topics I've made, they're all here. Okay, and so this is where you go ahead and click topic. You make a new topic, be it research, add, and now research is on the side, and I can drag it. Oh, I can't drag it here. I have to drag it down here. But the nice thing is I can sort it and put it where I want on my page. Okay, and it is my understanding that this impacts the students as well. So they'll see resources at the top of their page as well. But going back to create again, let's look at creating an assignment. This is what most of you will do if you're just starting in Google Classroom. You want to give that assignment a title. So this will be, I'll call it nuclear research. Give whatever instructions, watch videos, and then submit your thoughts. Okay, and then I can, at this point, if I wanted to, add a YouTube video. I can just do a search for nuclear research. Find the video that I want, click on it and add. I also could have done it by clicking here and just pasting the address. If I already had the address of the video, I could do that as well. I also could, as you see, add items that are from Google Drive. They could be Word, they could be PDF, PowerPoint, whatever you want to add. Now, it used to be I was warning people, do not add Word files unless you're sure the students have Word or that they have PowerPoint. But Google's become very powerful now to where you can share those and it will open those files for them. In general, PDF is how you like to share things, but you can share other types. You can also create, so I can go ahead here and within this assignment, create a document, a slideshow, a sheet, a drawing, or a form. So if I create a document, I could say, I could list 10 questions in this document. Let's say one. So I'm gonna just imagine I'm putting lots of questions and on down the line. And then I'll say, answer these, or just nuclear questions. Okay. And then I go ahead, I'm going to close that. Okay. And then after I've done that, I can distribute that sheet to all my students. How do I do that? Well, I can either have them just view the file, which is obviously not what I want them to do here. I want them to actually edit the file. I can have them edit the file, but be careful. If you do that, you have now shared your file with all of your students, and that's the same file. They're all editing the same file. Finally, you can make a copy for each student, so all of them will have the question sheet, and then they all will make their separate edits. Let me pause to see if there are any questions about that, because that's a very important skill. Okay. Okay. Okay, so Kevin, you're answering questions about backgrounds. Oh, okay, I got you. How can you expand the grid? Is this, Michael, are you asking about the grid of all the participants? Can you respond in chat, Michael? Okay, I'm assuming you're talking about, oh yes, okay. I'm going to leave that for right now because that's not about Google Classroom, but expanding the grid to see more, I think you may always want to try the check boxes there. Going back to the, if I make a copy for each student and then I assign it, indeed, every student will have their own copy. When they turn it back, it'll be their own unique work. Once again, you can do that with lots of different ones. So you share some template with them, and then they send back the template with the edits that you want. I then go ahead, I go over here. Where do I want to assign that assignment? Just in this class or in other classes as well? Do I want it to be assigned to one student or all my students? Here's where you can establish a point value. It's your point system. You decide how much you want to assign it. You assign your due date and potentially a due time as well. Once you do the date, the time is optional. And then there is an option for a rubric. You can actually go ahead and create a rubric in which you describe how your grading system, and you can use it to help you grade later on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a due date of next week, and I'll put the time as well. Going to all my students for this class, and I'm going to head to assign it, or I can schedule when this will pop up in their Google Classroom. And of course, that could be at a particular date, particular time, or save it as a draft. So I'll go ahead and assign it. And this was my nuclear research. Okay. Takes a moment because it takes a moment because it's making copies for every student. Now, of course, there's only one student in the class. And right now, this did not fall into any topic. It's at the top. The reason was when I was there, I did not give it a topic. So let me go back to edit. And I should have chosen a topic. So this is just going to be part of, we'll call it part of homework. I'll save. Okay. So now it's no longer at the top. I go down to homework, and there it is listed with its due date. And at any given time, I can edit it. Quiz. If I choose to create a quiz, it creates a Google form. Now, Kevin did a webinar Monday about assessments, including how to use Google Forms. So I'm not going to go into that. His webinar is recorded and available on my staff homepage, and he's made it available to his people as well. But you give that quiz a title, you give your instructions, and then you'll go in and you'll edit that Google form to add your quiz. And the same things as before, as far as putting it as part of a topic, your points on down the line. But that's how you can do a quiz, add a quiz within it. The question is pretty straightforward. What is the time of day? You have some control over if it's a multiple choice, you want to provide some possible answers or just want them to type a short answer. You can add other things to the question. And then once you post the question, Students can reply to each other, or students can edit their answers. So what you're doing is you're posting a question and they get it, they type their answer. Do you want them to be able to reply, to make comments on everyone else's answers? This is what this allows. Students can reply to each other's answers. I'm guessing maybe not, unless it's a classroom discussion about something, which maybe in our new world, that's what you want to do, is post a question and tell them, hey, you need to reply to this question and reply to someone else's question. And can they edit their answer once they do it? I'm guessing you don't want that, because if they do something wrong, you want them to be stuck with what they did, as opposed to, when I mean something wrong, I mean, something inappropriate. You don't want them to go back and be able to edit it later. You want to see what they're doing. Okay. I'm going to stop for a moment, look at the questions here. Okay, no new questions. Materials, as I said, this is a way that you can add a map or even a rubric, something you want them to refer to often. It's just materials that will be available to them. And reuse post. Once again, you choose it. These are posts within this classroom that I've done, and I can choose one and say reuse, or I can go out of here and go back to other classrooms I've been involved in and pull out of there. Okay. And so this will be your view of your class work. If we look in the upper right, there is the quick access to that Google Calendar that shows all the assignments and everything for the week. And here is a folder to the Google Drive where all the attachments that have been used in the class show up. And so once again, notice that it's in My Drive, a folder called Classroom that's created automatically, and then the name of the classroom, and then the folders for each of the assignments. Quizzes are separate, obviously. I'm not quite sure what goes into a folder and what doesn't there. So I'm going to go back. Oh, I don't know if you see that. Oh, you do see that tab. Good. Okay. Okay. Let's. Any questions about the classwork tab? We will see the student view, but any questions about assigning an assignment? Okay. I'm going to go ahead to the People tab now. The People tab is where you manage your class. Notice it's split between teachers and students. You, as I said, can have co-teachers. You just invite them by email. So if I were to choose Kevin, there he shows up. And I go ahead and invite Kevin. Okay, and he can accept if he so chooses. This gives him the power to really conduct my class. You also can see how my class is being run. This is a very valuable tool. If you're co-teaching, if you're teaching something similar to someone else, you may want to share your classrooms just to stay on the same track in these next few weeks, to know where each one is, and even be able to grab materials perhaps. So that'd be very powerful to do. So you can make a co-teacher. You could also add a teacher as a student if you wanted to. Of course, that means they would not have as much power in the class, but they would be able to see the assignments. They would know what's going on. So now Kevin has accepted. He is now a co-teacher of this class. I do have the ability to email him, remove him, or make him the owner of this class. If I'm on my way and going somewhere else, I could do that. Okay, for students, as I click on that, I can start typing a name, and all the Evans show up throughout the district, or I can do it by ID number, and I can manually add them. Like I said, if you make it through Aries, your roster will be filled. This will be filled for you already, but if for some reason there's this odd kid that you need to get in there, you can come to the People tab and then go ahead and add. The actions you can do, if I click the actions box up here, I can email the student from here. This will go to their school Gmail account. So this is an easy way to email one class. You don't have to go through Aries if you don't want to. You can remove a student and you can mute a student. So I talked about the ability to make comments. If you give every other student the ability to make a comment, but one student becomes problematic, you can mute them for a week, a day, whatever you want to do. This is where you do this. So you're managing your users here. Okay, that being said, I think it's time to go up to the gear that's up here. Okay, so that gear is settings. It's at the upper right, is where I'm going. I know things are kind of small on some screens. This is where I can edit the description of my class. I also can find the join code here. I can, at any point I want to, disable that code, just in case I don't want anyone else to join without me knowing about it. So, I can copy it and paste it into an email, or I can change the code. If I feel there's a need to, it's gotten out there and I don't want random people trying to join my class. So you can reset it to something else. Here is where we control comments. It says students can post and comment. So that means they can make an original post on the stream wall, and they have the ability to comment. Some classes may like that type of environment. That's your call. Then there are those that can comment on your post. That would be very valuable for many teachers. And then finally, only teachers can post or comment. So you need to decide what you want the setting. The default setting is that students can post and comment. Classwork on the stream. This has to do with just how things are viewed. Show attachments and details. So when they see an assignment, they see not only the name of the assignment, they see the details of the assignment, the description, they see the attachments, or do you want them just to see the assignment, and then they have to click on to see more detail? And then hiding notifications. So that's hiding things from your stream, and they have to actually go to Classwork to find them. Show deleted items. Only teachers can view deleted items. I think this is just to clean things up for you so you don't have to see all those things that you decide to get rid of. And guardian summaries. So this is for those of you who are interested in being able to keep the parents in the loop. If you have guardian summaries on, they will see, okay, I'm going to turn it back on again, add class, okay. Here's an example. They will get an email that starts at this big header right here. It says student work, missing from last week, and it gives a description of what the assignment was, when it was due next week, so it gives them a heads up of what's coming. And it'll do it for all the classes in one bulk email. So they won't be getting emails from each of the classes, just all those classes that have turned this on, they'll get one email with that summary. So I would think that would be valuable. Once again, there is no separate login for parents. If they request, they'll have to get the password from their son or daughter if they really want to log into the classroom. Calculations, that deals with Gradebook. So the last tab is Gradebook. How do you want grades calculated? Some of us, so if you do an overall grade, you'll see grades for every assignment, but there will be no summation grade. If you put total points, you'll get a percentage, and you get weighted by category. Obviously, you'll have categories. Do you want students to see that? Do you want them to be concerned about it? Now think about the fact that you may not have all your assignments in Google Classroom. And so if that is the case, of course, the grade that they see here wouldn't make much sense. If you become very Google Classroom centric, then you may want to have that show that overall grade. But that's something you'll need to decide on. And that you do not have to use the gradebook in Classroom. It was just requested by teachers so that they could have some of the work done for them, or so they grade in one place and easily put it into areas. Okay, and then you can create your categories here if you want to have categories for your gradebook. That's available. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Okay, and then I forgot to mention this. This has the email all guardians here, and that pops up a Gmail, and it's going to send an email to all the guardians. Of course, it's a BCC, meaning the guardians will not see the email addresses of the other people. But that is a way to I guess generate an email right away, and it'll go to those who you've checked off. Okay. Any questions about the People tab? Okay, looks like Kevin may have answered some of the share. You can email students from Google Classroom. Okay, so that's what we just did. Very good. Any other questions about the People tab? And thank you, Kevin, for continuing to answer in the chat room. Okay. So let us go to grades. Okay, so once again, Google Gradebook was added because there were some teachers who requested it. We have an Aries Gradebook. This is a way to do some grading in Google Classroom, but eventually you're gonna have to get the grades over to Aries. So let's just talk about grading first off. If I made an assignment, then it is available in here for me to manually post the grade. Now the question is, okay, well, where's the classwork? Where am I grading it from? So if I click on Evan Thomas here are his assignments. I'm going to click on the nuclear research one. Here's that questions that I asked him. And so he ostensibly, actually, what I need to talk about, and I'm really thinking about breaking into the second section, is about grading and commenting. And I'm saying I'm going to have a second session on that. So right now, what I'm looking at is his progress so far. He has not turned this into me. How do I know that? I look in the upper right, and this return, my ability to return it, I can't return it to him because he's never given to me. And so I really don't want to go too deep into the details. I'm going to do a separate gradebook grading, commenting section next week, or probably early in the week. So at this point, since we're at 2:53, I'm going to go ahead and just answer any questions. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Get to the right screen here. Okay, so I'd like to answer any questions. Please go ahead and feel free to. I think I lost Miss Wakefield. I see she's sleeping over there. Okay. Any questions for now? I made a recording of this, and I hear someone's mic on. So feel free to ask if you don't want to ask in the chat room. As you see, Google Classroom is very user friendly. The grading actually has a lot of very helpful things, and the more you use it, the better you'll be at it. And I'll show you that soon. When will part 2 be? Right now, I'm thinking part 2 will be looking at Monday. And Charlotte says, Charlotte, I don't think you can email the parents. I haven't done that through Classroom. I go through Aries. Aries, you can email in Classroom. Is there a way to add audio when playing a video in demonstration? That is a good question. I bet there is, and Kevin may know the answer. But obviously, I did not do it at that point. I may have to make sure it's on the same. I don't know. Kevin, if you do know, can you turn your mic and tell us if you know the answer to that question? Oh, he doesn't know, but that's something that we will have to learn. The two of us will get together and we'll figure that out.
Hey, Randy.
Yes. Oh, hey, Gabe.
Hey, I see you have headphones on. So are you hearing it through your headphones?
Yes, I am hearing it through my headphones. So maybe it is the audio source.
So I would say that it's likely that what you're seeing is that Randy's using his headphones to hear. That means that we can't hear it because it's sending the audio to his headphones. If he had speakers on his desk, then we would hear the sound from his speakers. So you have to think about that as well. So the easiest way to say it is if you're using your computer and you have your sound on and you have speakers on, just as we're talking right now and it's picking up on my mic what I'm saying, it would pick up the sound that's playing in your room on the mic. So that might be the easiest way to do it.
Now, Alina is saying that she tried it at home. That's a good catch, Gabe. She said she tried it and couldn't get to work and was not using headphones. So I played a video yesterday with 2 laptops. Okay, so Kevin and I will work on that and we will get an answer for you. Any other questions about Google Classroom right now? So if you want to make a Google Classroom right now, I will be sharing this. I'll be sharing this, and it'll include the video that shows how to go into Aries, go to the dashboard, click Edit. I think it's Link Gradebook, the button, and then you want to create gradebooks, and it'll do it for you. It'll take a moment, but it'll create your gradebooks for you. You can also manually create them. Any other suggestions, especially technical suggestions, or just anything else? Anything you know about Gradebook that you really want to make sure I cover in part 2 for everybody else, or something that you want to get answered about Gradebook? Please put that in the chat. Okay, so seeing 4, you should be able to see more. Michael, do you have grid view at the upper right? Okay. Okay, you do see it, and then you click on it. What happens?
Well, I'm looking at it. It says change layout. Is that not the one I'm looking? I should be looking at.
Let me get up top of mine. I haven't seen it. Okay, so you're looking. Your choices are only show participants with video, highlight speakers, and include yourself in the grid. I do want to right now stay focused on.
Okay, sorry.
No, but please hang around afterwards. Okay. I started answering your question. Okay, just start using include. How can I import their current grades? Okay. You don't want to import their grades into Google Classroom because Google Classroom is not your grade is not your main gradebook. It's always going to be Aries because that, of course, is hooked to Aries portal for the parents and the students. So that's answering Sherry. So instead, you'll just be bringing in new grades, and we'll talk about how to do that. Okay. Okay. Talking about forms, how to use forms as far as for quizzes and assessments. You want to refer to Kevin's. If it's about using forms in other ways, yes, we can definitely talk about other ways you can use forms to collect information. Be happy to do that. A review on how to push to Aries. That is something that we'll talk about in part 2. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, and so as Kevin's going to talk about the add-on for Grid, we've had some issues with it, with the right version of Chrome on down the line, but the emojis as well as Grid View is a great add-on to it. Yeah, so, okay, great. So Stacy said she wants to know more about forms to collect information. Love to talk about that. So I'll do a session on forms. And we'll be getting the schedule out to both high schools for our future webinars. Kevin will do them and I'll be doing them as well. Anything else for today? Okay, I'd say go ahead and play with it. You can't damage anything. Go ahead and start creating a classroom and play around with it. Feel free to share with other people. Okay, then I'll call that for now. Great seeing everybody. And I will be posting this and Kevin will get the message out too. So I probably will, next session will be Monday at 2 o'clock. Take care. Please stay around if you have any questions or want help with anything. Okay, John, would you please wake Pat up for me? I don't know if you can see Pat. Okay. So can I help anybody with anything? I know, Michael, we talked about the Grid View. Kevin and I were playing with that yesterday. He found if his Chrome browser was not the right version, it might not work, and we were waiting for an update. Kevin, do you think that's been resolved?
Yeah, I sent him a message. I said it wasn't working for mine. It's working for yours again.